December 27th, 2024. The last week or two of the year and the first week of the year are normally weeks that I completely shut down and stick to myself and sort of journal and reflect and think about life and sort of compile the things I've done in the last year to work towards goals that I've set, who knows when, years ago, this year, whatever, and sort of track my progress and map out what I want to do the coming year towards those goals. And I haven't really been able to shut fully down because I'm still working on a home renovation and it's still taking up all my energy. I counted that I'm doing like 5 different jobs. Barely getting anywhere. I hate this life right now, but it is somewhat fulfilling. So so I was working full time, and then that job ended around Thanksgiving, and then I took some days to sleep, and it feels like I'm still taking some days to sleep because I'm doing other things, photography, gig jobs, all this other stuff, and it seems like I just don't have enough time to actually just be, right? And so when I get those days like Christmas Day, I honestly just sat in front of my computer. Actually, I was editing photos. So I was editing photos for photo submissions for contests, actually. So that was still work to do. So yeah, there's always something to do. But yesterday, I was driving all day yesterday, and I guess the silence, the streets were sort of quiet. In the silence, I was able to actually hear thoughts. I was able to hear some guidance and some suggestions. Actually, the voices started, or the guidance started while I was sorting laundry, because I ended up doing laundry. Always something to do, so I was doing laundry. I was at home sorting laundry, and a thought crossed my mind, and it's something that I have been completely adamant against. Literally just adamant. I will not do that. Don't want to do that. That's not the goal. I'm not there yet. For 4 years, I'm like, I'm not there yet. I'm not there. Actually, this is what I've been saying. I don't want to give away the juice because I still have some thinking and journaling to do. But I was like, I'm not broke enough yet to consider doing that. And yesterday I was like, okay, I think I'm there. I'm going to consider doing that thing I didn't want to be broke enough to do before. And once I got that out, all these possibilities just started flowing, and options that I would not allow myself to consider before just started literally just popping up in my mind. And then I started Googling, okay, well, what if I do this? Okay, if I do XYZ, how will that be different from when I did it before? And that was the question I asked myself. So one of the questions I put in Google was doing XYZ at 50. And the last time I had done XYZ, I was 30. And I was ecstatic. I was searching, I was seeking, I was hoping, I just had all these thoughts about how good life would be, and I did not want to cry. But this is what was going through my mind. What came to me was that when I did it at 30, I was full of fear. And I didn't realize I was full of fear. It was like an insidious type thing because I thought I was being brave. And people always tell me, oh, you're so brave to have done what you did. And I'm like, oh, no, it was just a life choice, right? But the driving force was fear. I didn't want to die in another place. I didn't want to die having not pursued my dreams. I didn't want to live without trying to build what I wanted to build. And so the fear for me that had kept me from doing this thing until I was 30 initially was not leaving my family. I didn't want to be away from my family because what if I couldn't get back to them? What if they needed me and I couldn't afford to return and assist and help? And when I finally did the thing, it was, okay, well, how do I survive? how do I keep my head above water? How do I manage this life that I chose for myself? That's nothing's ever easy, you know? And so now I'm like, okay, well, if I go back, how would doing it at 50 be different than doing it at 30? 20 years, I can't believe it. And what came to me was, now you already know who you are. And when I did it the first time, I was seeking to know who I was. I had literally gone into that situation wanting to know who LaShonda was by herself. Who is LaShonda without her family? Who is LaShonda when she's left to her own devices, you know? Would I be someone completely different? Or am I a product of my conditioning? Am I a product of my family, of my upbringing, of my environment, of the city, of the education? You know, am I truly my own person, or am I just a conglomerate of all these other influences that could be arbitrary or differing by the day? And those were the things that were driving me. So I guess the underlying fear that wasn't visible to me was, I didn't think I was a person, an independent, individual, bona fide person. I thought I was just pieces of all these other things and people that molded me, that I didn't have my own personality, that I didn't have my own joy, that nothing about me was just me, that everything about me was someone else or something else. And that was the fear that drove me to make a huge life change at the age of 30. And what came to me yesterday was that foundation is no longer my foundation. Uncertainty is no longer my foundation. Lack of knowledge of myself is no longer my foundation. Fear is no longer my motivator. It's not a catalyst for me. It's not a consideration for me. And that's what came to me yesterday, and it just blew my mind. I was like, wow. So if I circle back and try this thing again, wow. Wow. Just wow. I thought I was tired. I am tired, but I thought I was tired. I thought I was done. I thought I'm just so ready to just give up on everything, everybody, life. And that's not a suicidal thing. That's just like, I'm just done putting in effort anywhere, everywhere. And I was just willing to sort of sink into the background, you know, stay in the Midwest, find a little humdrum job, rent out my house as an Airbnb, upstairs anyway, live downstairs, and, you know, wait for inspiration to strike for my next move. And the inspiration came yesterday while sorting my laundry. And it was like, literally, all you have to do is make up your mind. And I know this. I know this. This is me. I know that. I just have to make up my mind. And I did not want to make up my mind. I didn't want to choose the thing that was staring me in the face. That's what it was. I didn't want to choose the thing that was staring me in the face, because I decided I was done with it. That's a word from somebody. I decided that I was done with it, and that I wanted my future and my peace and my joy and my prosperity and whatever else God had for me to come from someplace else. And so I'm waiting for God to show me someplace else. I've been in this place for almost 4 years, waiting for God to show me someplace else. And I will tell you, He has not. He has not shown me anything else. And yesterday I was like, oh, so is this why? Because I was so adamant against considering the thing where I had only seen death. And not a physical death. when I last ended that part of my life. And I wrote about it. I wrote about it consistently for like 2 or 3 books. My God, I mean, Desert of Solitude and Alone All in One, A Solitary Journey, all about leaving dead things, dead relationships, dead environments, dead situations, dead jobs. You know, like I felt like all of life for me was a cycle of death. And that was the second revelation. And because that place, that choice was to me already a full circle, it was already a full cycle, it was already a full expression of life and death, ending on death, ending on endings, ending on things that did not necessarily come to fruition for me. I was not willing. I just thought I was done. I'm like, okay, if it's dead, if it's done, it's done. Let me find someplace else, something else. And what came to me yesterday was, what if that thing, oh my God. Oh my God. So I think the seed was the sermon I heard a couple of weeks ago that I have to go back and take notes on. But the Pastor Stephen Furtick, said something about death is not the end. My God, praise God. This is just so wonderful. He said, death is not the end. Death is a part of life. It's a part of the life cycle. And I was like, I don't know, working on drywall at the time. I had to stop. And think about that. And I know this. These are things I know. Like I read the word. I meditate on the word. I write about the word. I know these things. But the context in which he said it, he said, death is not the end. And I have only ever thought of death as the end. I've only ever thought of death in my life as the end and never as part. Like it was the end of whatever it was, but something else was able to come from it, right? But not the same thing. Like, I hope you're following me because I feel so inarticulate right now. But the death of a thing was the end of that thing. But it allowed space and fertilization for something else to come through. And the way that he said it was like, it's not even the end of that thing. It's just a part of that thing's cycle. I'm going to tell you that just broke me open because that was probably a couple weeks ago. So that would have been the seed that came up as a sprout yesterday. Because it was a cycle of an ongoing spiral. And it wasn't the end of anything permanent. It just needed to go through a process. And I needed to go through a process. And praise God for his processes. Praise God for his processes. Anyway, this is it for now because I don't want to go too long. But that's what's on my mind. Is that don't block yourself by adamantly declaring to yourself and God that you will not consider a thing. Because you may just be set down for a number of years until he gets you to a point where you will consider that thing. And 2, don't be afraid of recycling your life or recycling through your life. You know, as you go around and around and around, you're learning new things, you're applying new things, you're doing new things, even as the things seem to be the same. And you're elevating yourself because the best way that I can remember, I read, goodness, the visual is you look at a spiral and you look at it sort of face on and you just see circles like a top, you know, think of a spin top. And so you just see circles inside circles inside circles. But if you turn that on its side, right, then you see the spirals, and you see how it's more of a tunnel, right? And the writer, I can't think of his, I think Murdoch is his last name. I can't think of it right now, but I can't even think of the book series. I'm blanking right now, but it's like The Far Beyond, or Beyond Beyond Life, or something like that. But he talked about the spiral as his metaphor was a mountain. And he was saying, basically, as you're going up the mountain or you're going down the mountain, you're going to go up and you're going to go down. But the difference is that your perspective changes with each level. Your learning changes with each level. You're not the same person going up that mountain. You're not, basically, that first spiral. You're one person doing that. And when you come down, you're a different person. So even though the scenery is the same, your perspective is changing because of your experience from when you first went up. And your perspective changes when you go down, and it changes when you come back up and when you go back down. And that's what I'm thinking right now. So that's what came to me when I was like, well, what would be different at 50 than at 30? I'm not the same person. That's the difference. And what a glorious thing to be able to say and to understand and to appreciate. Like, I have had, like, I'll say this. My main gripe was I did not want to continue in corporate America. And so I'm like, well, that has no place for me because I'm done with corporate. And then all these other options. And it's like, well, since I've embarked on this alternate life of, basically unemployment outside of corporate, I've focused on my photography. I focused on my writing. I focused on real estate. I'm basically rebuilding a freaking house. Like, I've acquired so many different skills in the near 7 years since I, left corporate, in general, that I don't have to return to the same thing. Like, I have so much more, as a basis of experience, to lean on and to offer, that I can literally just create the life that I want, that I've been trying to create in other places that do not have as many, anywhere near the options or opportunities that I left and did not want to return to. So that's what I'm thinking. God bless you. I guess I'm going to post this. Sorry it went long. I hope you are enjoying a wonderful holiday. I hope that you give yourself time to reflect and to receive any revelations that are ready to pour into you. Happy New Year. Happy 2025. May we all be everything that we are built and created to be, and have the opportunity to just simply exist as we are. Be blessed as you go.